To a new message series called The Weight of Your Words, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how our words, how we have been affected by words, and how our words affect others. When I was younger, my dad was kind of old school, and one of the things he used to say to me often was, "Actions speak louder than words." Have you heard that? You ever heard somebody say that to you? Actions speak louder than words. And he was trying to teach me to be a man and tell me that what I do is more important than what I say. And that is true, particularly if I don't know you very well. If you're a stranger to me and you say, "Hey, I'm going to do this and that," or "I'm going to do," you make a promise and say, "I'm going to do it." I don't know if you're going to do what you promise. I only know it when you do it, And so actions speak louder than words. When you're on the job, when you work somewhere, what you do and how you perform, it speaks louder than what you say. But there's an inverse to this principle. There's a flip side to this principle, which is the closer I get to you, the more the words weigh. If there's a words, actions axis, the fulcrum moves towards the action and away from words, the more I know you, which is to say the words weigh more the closer I get to you. The words weigh more the closer I get to you. For example, if you've ever had somebody say something difficult to you, who is to you a stranger, hopefully it rolls off your back, Imagine you're walking to a store. Let's just think up a scenario, yeah? You're walking into a store, and there's a protest going on outside the store. People are chanting something, they're yelling something, they're carrying signs, and they're very angry. There's always somebody protesting something. A lot of protesting these days, right? So protest, and you just want to go in the store and get the thing that you need in the store, and you're not into the thing that they're protesting, and you don't really want anything to do with it. You just want to get in the store and get out. And as you're walking in the store, somebody with a sign, a really angry person, yells at you and goes, "I hate you!" Now, if that happens to you, hopefully you don't go home and have some sort of existential crisis over the moment, right? Hopefully you don't go home and go, "Why do they hate me? What's going on in my life? Should I examine myself?" Hopefully you just go, "Yeah, okay, thanks for hating me. It seems like you hate everybody. Maybe you should switch to decaf and do something else with your time." That's probably what you think. I think that would be a normal measured response. "I hate," you don't know me, you don't know anything about. But if somebody close to you says that, same words, much different weight. Your spouse says that to you, a close friend says that to you, your child says that to you, a parent says that to you, that's a wrecking ball. The closer you are to a person, the more the words weigh, the more potential there is for damage. This concept is true. I mean, the weight of words can be felt even in their absence. You want evidence of this concept? Look to what the absence of words can do. I have never, in all my years of ministry, had somebody come to me terribly, terribly upset about what their neighbor never said to them. I've never had somebody come to me terribly upset about what their teacher never said to them or their coworker never said to them. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people about what their parents have never said to them. I love you. I'm proud of you. I want to spend time with you. When those words are left unsaid, that does damage. And some of you are here and you're still recovering from those wounds and you still have that inside of you. And when I just said that, you felt that really sharply because of the weight of words. Because our words carry probably more weight and more momentum than we're aware. Was there some stuff from your childhood? Was there a name that they called you? I'll bet you still remember it. I'll bet it comes back to you real quick. I bet that wound is still down in there somewhere. Yeah? That thing that they used to call you, or that conversation you had when that person close to you said that thing, a word or a sentence or a phrase that landed on you and is somehow still with you even after all these years, even though they apologized, even though you cleared the decks, it's still in there because of the weight of words. Now, what's happening now in the room is this. We are, I hope, together acknowledging the damage done by others' words or absence of words in our life. We're acknowledging that things spoken to us have deeply affected us. At the same time, we are, I think, probably together deeply underestimating the weight that our words have in the lives of others. Even while we acknowledge the weight of the words of others in our lives, we also tend to underestimate the weight of our words in other people's lives. This is something we have to pay attention to. This is something that matters. Now, this matters to everybody. Like, you don't even have to be a Christian for this to work and matter and make sense. Some of you, you would not self-identify as a Christian. Some of you have been going to church for years or decades, and that's part of who you are and your core identity. There's others of you, you would not self-identify as a Christ follower. You're here for the first time today. Second, third, or fourth time, you're still looking around, or even, maybe you've been coming for quite a while, but you're still like, I don't know about you people. I'm not sure I'm going to jump into this thing. I don't know if I'm one of you yet. Don't know, not sure. We've got other folks. We've got folks from other faiths. We have, over the years, more than once, I've had Jewish couples come to me and go, hey, we just love your church. We ignore everything about Jesus, but we love the place, and I'm like, you are truly missing the point, but enjoy, have fun. Like, atheists have come to church and made, repeatedly, and just said, so I don't assume that everybody in the room is like, rah, rah, I'm following Jesus. Some of you might not be there, but I'm saying even if that's you, even if you don't follow Jesus, this concept is true and needs to be pondered. But if you do follow Jesus, if you are a Christian, this is non-negotiable. We have got to pay attention to this because you are called. Listen up. Following Jesus requires an others-first perspective. Following Jesus requires an others-first priority. We live outward bound to love others, right? At one point, somebody came up to Jesus and said, all right, come on, help me out here. Sum up the law and the Gospels for me. Give it to me, neat, so in a tweet, so I can put it on Twitter. Hit me. And Jesus said, here it is. You love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And you love your neighbor as yourself. This sums up the law and the Gospels. And the way we say that is honor God, love others, serve all. It's an outward-bound orientation, and it's not an option if you're following Jesus. Listen to these words from the Apostle Paul. This is Ephesians chapter 5, and I'm going to stop mid-verse and then complete after. Ephesians chapter 5, beginning at verse 1. Imitate God, therefore, in everything you do, because you are his dear children. Live a life filled with love. Live a life filled with love. Isn't that beautiful? Oh. And it's Mother's Day. Oh, so sweet. Just live a life filled with love. Skip down the trail and throw rose petals wherever you go, and just live a life filled with love. So easy, so simple, until you finish the verse. Here's the rest of what it says. Live a life filled with love, following the example of Christ. He loved us and offered himself as a sacrifice for us, a pleasing aroma to God. We are called to follow the example of Christ, who loved others and loved us sacrificially, who put the needs of others before his own needs at every turn. That's who we're called to emulate. That's who we're called to follow. So others come first in the equation. The needs of other people. An outward-bound orientation. We live a life of love, putting others first. This is not an option. This is how we're called to operate. And your words need to reflect that you're putting others first in your interactions. We speak words. Like here's another way to say it. Every interaction you have with a person, every interaction you have with somebody, a conversation, a text, a phone call, even social media posts that you put out that anybody can read, every verbal or written word interaction you have with somebody is a construction site. It's a job site. Your job is to see to it that something is built and not torn down. Every single interaction you have with another person is a job site. Your job is to see to it that something is built and not torn down. Here's how Paul phrases that. This is Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Do not let any unwholesome word come out of your mouths, but only words that are good for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So this word unwholesome, it's not necessarily a reference to profanity. The word unwholesome in the Greek means something stinking or rotten, like bad fish. Don't say things that pollute the room. Don't say things that are going to make the place gross. Like, don't let that out of your mouth. Don't do that. Only what is beneficial for others. Let's read. Let me just hit you with that again, so I don't misquote it. Only words that are good for building others up according to their needs. Whose needs? Their needs. We build others up according to their needs. We operate in love. We live a life filled with love. We operate and communicate in such a way that we build others up according to their needs. Now, let's say the obvious, right? To be a loving person and to be a caring person does not mean you affirm blindly everything everybody else does. Yes? Being a loving person sometimes means you have to say difficult things, doesn't it? Sometimes being a loving person, it's not loving to just be a yes man. It's not loving to just be like, oh, yeah, absolutely. That's great. That sounds perfect. Yeah, hard drugs are great. They're going to improve your life. Just go ahead. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you should totally get into a relationship with him. Go ahead. Being a loving person doesn't mean you just blindly affirm everything and everybody around you. Sometimes being a loving person means you have to call out some bad behavior. It means you have to confront somebody according to their needs. Now, this is important. It's an important nuance. Because sometimes when you're going to confront somebody about something, you prepare, right? And you're kind of like, you get psyched up and you're like, okay, I'm going to say this stuff and I'm going to hit him with this. And there comes a point sometimes, am I wrong about this? There comes a point where you're almost like, you're ready to do it because you practiced. You're going to have this conversation with this person and you practiced it in the car. They weren't in the car with you, but you had a whole imaginary conversation with them in the car, and you're already replaying the conversation to a third party in a coffee shop where you're going, I said this, and then I said this, and then I said this. And they go, you said that? And you go, I said it. Listen up. And I know whereof I speak on this because I do this myself. It bothers me sometimes how much I need my own sermons. Okay, so if you are practicing a conversation that you're about to have with somebody, and you're replaying the conversation in your head already before it's even happened, and you're dropping bombs, you are probably operating according to your own needs and not according to the needs of the other. If you're prepping for that conversation and you're ready to go, you are probably operating according to your own needs and not according to the needs of the other, and they will know the difference. And so do you. I've been blessed to have plenty of people in my life speak into me and at times love me and care for me enough to call out something and say, Bert, I see this in you, and maybe you might want to watch out for that. Maybe this might need to change. And I can tell in an instant because I've received it from people who love me and care for me and are actually having a hard time saying it. Calling somebody out on something is not an easy thing. If somebody ever does that with you and you're sensing that they really mean it, you are looking into the eyes of a true friend. Because it's easier to just ignore stuff, isn't it? Come on, you've done this before. You are ignoring things about people in your life right now. You're like, I just don't want to talk about it. And you're hiding under the umbrella of, well, who am I to judge? The big question as you interpret these verses for your life is this: what does love require of you? What does love require of you? I want you to ask that question to yourself. What does love require of me? If I'm going to live a life filled with love, what does love require of me? Sometimes it requires that you sit down with the person and you speak the truth in love. This is what I'm saying. There are times I've been confronted by people who love me and care for me and are in my corner, and there have been other times I've been confronted by people where there's like a little bit of judgment and a little bit of, and I can tell the difference in a heartbeat, and so can you. Now, a painful sidebar is even if they're being judgmental, there might be a kernel of truth in what they're saying that you have to figure out how to get to and spit out the bones. That's a whole other sermon, but I think you know what I'm talking about, yeah? You know what I'm talking about. All right. So as you talk to others, as you converse with others, it's a job site. You want to build them up and build them up and build them up. And don't tear anything down. Don't let any unwholesome word come out of your mouth. Don't pollute the atmosphere. See to it. My job, for me, what does love require of me? What love requires of me is that anytime I talk to somebody, anytime I interact with somebody, I want them sticky with the residue of love. I want them sticky with the residue of Jesus. That's what I want. Anytime somebody talks to me or interacts with me. Because I think that's what the world needs. I'm going to honor God and love others and serve all. And there are times, and words are my thing. I can be surgical when I want to. When I want to take somebody apart, I can. That is a dangerous thing. Particularly when you have people close to you who love you. And whom you love. Most of us are more dialed in to what we want to say than we are dialed in to what others need to hear. You are likely more dialed into what you want to say than you are dialed into what they need to hear. And because of that, you are likely to think that what you need to say is exactly what they need to hear, and that is often not the case. Have you ever just gone off on one of your kids and then found yourself a half hour later going, I'm really sorry, I had a long day, please, can you just disregard that? If you've ever done that, you kind of know what I'm talking about. This is important. This is something that can prevent you from doing heavy damage in your life. Or how about this? You ever have somebody just drop like some unwholesome stuff and then just go, I'm just being honest. Sorry, I'm just keeping it real. I'm just being honest here. Listen up. Being honest means everything you say is true. It doesn't mean you say everything that is true. If you say everything that is true, you will have no friends. Right? If you say everything that is true, your close relatives are going to want nothing to do with you. Even your kid, you'll just be alone. So, I'm just being honest is garbage. You see, it usually comes with the hands up. You see that going on. Let that little detector go off in your head and go, yeah, you know what, that's nonsense. That's just not, I'm just being honest is not an excuse for speaking that kind of talk. It's not an excuse to say hurtful things. Just because it's true doesn't mean it's on you to spit it out. Intent is just as important as content. Intent is just as important as content. You always know the difference. Have you heard heard this comparison? It takes like 10 positive comments to outweigh one negative comment. Have you heard that before? Some of you have heard that before. Well, you've heard it now. It's true, but that is a marketplace analysis. That's a level playing field analysis. The playing field isn't level when it comes to relationships. Some words weigh more than others depending on who they're from. If you're in a close relationship with somebody, the positive comment, negative comment access is way different. If it's your spouse, if it's your child, like if negative words come from a parent, it might be more like 30-1. If it's from a father, like dad's in the room. If you're speaking difficult things to your children, you've got to know it's more like a 40-1 comparison. Your words weigh far more than you think they do. They weigh way more than you think they do. And you can do real damage. You can be a wrecking ball just by trying to be tough as a parent. Just speaking the truth, just being honest with my kids. Listen, I told you earlier, my dad was like old school kind of hardcore guy. One of his spiritual gifts, and he's passed it on to me, great spiritual gift, is the spiritual gift of sarcasm. It's not a real spiritual gift, but I have it. There are times, some of you do too, yeah. That's just great that you have the spiritual gift of sarcasm. See, that's my spiritual gift in action. That was what you just saw. So, my dad could weaponize sarcasm. You ever been able to weaponize sarcasm? Like you just know what to say and drop. And there are things he said to me that are still rattling around in there. From when I was a kid. Listen up. Sarcasm doesn't make your kid tough. Sarcasm makes it tough for you to connect with your kid later in life. Sarcasm isn't making your kids tough. It's just making it tough for you to relate to them later in life. Knock it off. That's you meeting your needs. That's you putting you first. You're not putting their needs first. And you're not just keeping it honest and speaking the truth. You're doing it wrong if that's the way it's coming out. Yeah, I said that. You're doing it wrong. Email me. I have literally never said that in a sermon. Every time I mention email in a sermon, I say, don't email me, don't email me, don't email me. You want to take me on this? Bring it. Bring it. You know I'm right about that because the scriptures are saying it. The Bible is backing it right up. Don't let that stuff come out of your mouth. Only what is helpful, only what is positive, only what is constructive, only what's going to build others up. Every single interaction you have with another person is a construction site. It's a job site. Your job is to see to it that something is built. Build others up. Those conversations aren't really about you getting to say what's on your mind and getting it off your chest. I just got something I got to get off my chest. You ever have that come up in you? You are dealing with your needs, not theirs. And intent is just as important as content. Your heart to build that person up and love them. Your heart to encourage them and help them get through what they're getting through so that they know you're rooting for them and you're really in their corner, even if you are saying difficult things. You've got to find a way to pull that off. Who, right now, is really hoping that you're hearing this sermon? Who is really hoping? Who's really hoping that you're hearing this sermon? Who hopes you get to work on this real soon? Who's hoping you get to work on this like today? Because there are people in your life downstream of your words that are hoping you do. Because your words weigh far, far, far more than you think they do. As much impact has been had on you by the words of others, so you impact others with yours. Tread lightly, walk carefully, honor God, love others, and serve all in all of your interactions. And we will take another step towards following and being like Jesus. That's my hope for me. That's my hope for all of us. With that, let's close in prayer. Father, we love you, and we thank you for a chance to dial into your word. And even though it's difficult, even though this is hard, Father, we all struggle with this. We all just sometimes want to say what we want to say and get things off our chest. And that's just not how you operate. It's not how you call us to operate. You're calling us to put the needs of others before our own. To live a life filled with love, putting the needs of others before our own. Following in your example. And that is really, really difficult. So, Father, we need humility. We need to slow the pace down sometimes of what we say. We need to enter even tough conversations. We need to enter with compassion and with your heart and with your love. And that does not come naturally to us. So we're praying for divine assistance. We're praying for help as we lean into this work and try to make our lives like that, to follow you in this, Father. We pray, bless and help each of us. In Jesus' name.